Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is a far cry from the rest of the franchise in almost every aspect, but does that extend to the plot? A lot of people have been theory crafting on Security Breach, myself included, but almost everyone kind of assumes that we've got at least some haunted animatronics. I mean, it's FNAF, that's the whole shtick, so it's gotta be here, right? Well, I'm here to say that I don't think a single animatronic in the entire Pizzaplex is haunted, and to prove it, we're going through every single character from least likely to most likely. Right out the gate, the least likely thing to be haunted in the entire game is the player, Gregory. I mean, he's just literally a kid. He's a little weird, but he's just a child. Like, if he was haunted, then he'd be possessed, and I don't see any, like, exorcist crawling on the ceiling type stuff from him. So we're just gonna assume he's good. Moving up the list, the other human, Vanessa. Now, when I say Vanessa, I mean Vanessa and Vanny, because they're the same person. Cry about it. Anyway, Vanessa has been pretty much totally brainwashed to the point of having a split murderous persona personality in Vanny. But notably, being brainwashed is not the same as being haunted. Frankly, it's not even close. She's literally just brainwashed and mentally broken. She's seen in multiple emails and in therapy CDs to either be communicating with Glitchtrap directly through a virtual messenger, or my pet theory, conversing with Vanny by leaving messages for herself in this virtual messenger, and then when she's Vanny, going to check on that, and Vanny communicates to Glitchtrap. But that's not being haunted. That's just talking to the thing that's brainwashed half of your mind. There's no reason to believe that William is inside of Vanny, except in fanfiction. And that's gross. William is 1,000 years old. Let him die. Long story short, none of the humans in Fnaf Security Breach are haunted, because that'd be possession. And there's nobody possessed in here. Now onto our first robots, the staff bots. And I mean specifically Security Bot, Mop Bots, Map Bot, Joke Bot, and Service Bots. They're literally just vibing. Like, Gregory is the problem here. They show no signs of aggression, they're just trying to do their jobs. They can't even hurt Gregory, which would be a possible indication towards a haunting because robots are not supposed to be able to hurt humans. The only thing they can possibly do is if directly touched or interacted with while working, they call for an animatronic from the main group. That animatronic hurts Gregory. But let's think about this logically. These bots don't know that. Wouldn't it be incredibly likely that the programming of these robots say, if a child is too close and could get hurt from my machinery, call for a more sophisticated robot or service member, one of the main animatronics or a security guard. That's just what their programming probably tells them to do anyway. It's the other things that are messed up. These guys are just vibing. Okay, so what about the corrupted security bots? Well, they're scarier, but most of them do the same thing. Even the really scary ones don't actually hurt you. There are only two groups of corrupted service bots that can hurt the player: the pit bots in the dump and the service bots in this ending cutscene. But honestly, I don't think either one is intentional. As far as the pit bots go, let's be honest. If I dug a 10-foot hole and filled it 3 feet high with writhing, malfunctioning robots and threw a kid in there, they're gonna die. It's basically a meat shredder. That's just a kid shredder down there. Like, they're not haunted and trying to kill Gregory, they're just a mass of writhing metal. That kills anybody. And as far as these robots killing a human, Vanny, I think they were tricked. I don't think it's their fault here. Their leader told them to disassemble Freddy. An animatronic, ostensibly a part of some basic programming. It would make sense that the robots meant to serve the restaurant were also used to serve its employees. So then, through the same command system, they're told to disassemble Vanny, something that looks just like an animatronic. Do we really think that these sensors are sophisticated enough to tell the difference between a robotic animatronic that looks like an animal and a stitched up fursuit that looks like an animal? This probably just looks like the same thing to them. They probably didn't even know anything was wrong until they got halfway through Vanny. Conclusion, these poor boys were lied to and are just trying to vibe. Now what about these nightmare-fueled endoskeletons? They're not good boys, they do hurt you. They only walk when you're not looking, and all of them try to kill a human, Gregory. Well, hear me out. There are several paintings in the maze area they're from that show that these robots for some reason need to be taught how to act around children. They're not immediately programmed with that knowledge. Perhaps they're built with some sort of learning algorithm that gets refined through practice, so it makes sense that these beings are practicing to help children every day. What if they go after Gregory because their primitive directives are telling them that we are a lost child in need? But like Lenny of Mice and Men, they don't know their own strength and end up killing Gregory by mistake. As far as why they only walk when you're not looking at them, take a look at Gregory and go back to that sensor idea. These robots are still in training or something like that. So wouldn't it make sense that if they're facing a human, their programming goes, oh, that's a human. I see eyes, I see mouth, that makes sense. But the moment that human turns around, it kind of just looks like a practice mannequin. So maybe they freeze not to sneak up on us, but they legitimately don't want to hurt a human. But when our backs are turned, we don't look human anymore. All in all, their behavior suggests a lot more of a powerful robot that isn't quite in tune yet, rather than some haunted maniacal killer. Okay, but what about the guy everyone's afraid of, DJ Music Man? One of the coolest parts of the game and the most fun segment in my opinion. Also, it has the best music. Listen to those tunes! Well, this one's actually very simple. From here on out, most robots we're talking about have been affected in some way by Vanny, DJ Music Man being a very simple job. We see this log about the security feature built into DJ Music Man. We can assume that due to murder being illegal, the security feature merely has DJ Music Man find and capture the criminal and hold them until the police arrive. So all Vanny has to do to get a giant ally is hack into its systems to add Gregory's face to a security protocol registry, and then simply turn off the force regulators of the hands. Now she has this giant musical spider that, when apprehending this child, squeezes him like a grape. The mini Music Man statues are much in the same way affected by Vanny, as we have logs stating that they were somehow released from their box. Who else would do that? And if she released them, she had plenty of time to hack into their systems as well. We're going to talk about Freddy separately for a while. So before we get to him, what about the other three animatronics? Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, and Roxanne Wolf. Well, although some people argue that their distinct personalities are due to a haunting, I don't really see this as the most likely case. It's much more probable that they already had distinct personalities, and have been simply infected by the glitch trap virus. Benny has full access to these animatronics, and we see near the end of the game that Burntrap has full control of the animatronics in question. It makes a lot of sense that these animatronics are just fully enraptured by the glitch trap virus, and are seeking out missing kids to bring into the basement or something. Honestly, I'm still not 100% sure why they're kidnapping missing kids, or why they need to kill kids. It doesn't really make, there's no reason. I guess it's just a Fnaf game, so there's dead kids. One of the clearest showcases of this is that they're fully articulate. So far in the franchise, the haunted animatronics we've seen are jittery. They don't walk correctly. They stand and stare for long stretches of time. These guys just walk perfectly fine. All of the available evidence seems to just point to hacked or corrupted animatronics. Now to the man of the hour, Frederick Frazzlebear VII. I feel like most people in the community assume that he's haunted or something. He has a lot of erratic behavior that goes unexplained, and the way he seemingly admits to not being Freddy downstairs.
I am not me.
While that is compelling, I always assumed that this was just Freddy's normal programming, with the edges of it being corrupted by the glitch trap virus. However, a community member who knows way more about this stuff than me, Jason Ross from Radiant Freedom, actually had specific breakdowns and evidence pointing towards a virus explanation for everything. He had a lot of research that I don't have time or the expertise to talk about, but I am going to give the bullet points here. If you post it on Reddit, I'll pin that comment so you can find it later. Quote, "Here we see Freddy just beginning to glitch out. His actions at this moment give us an important clue as to where glitch trap resides in Freddy, and can give us a clue as to where it is likely in the others as well. Freddy's in show mode, as we'll see in a moment. So we can first narrow Glitch Trap's location to somewhere in the Freddy show mode programming. Then we see our first view of Freddy's mind. There are several main sections of importance to be visible here. The first is a block of text on the top left portion, the show mode icon, indicating Freddy's in show mode. We can use the setting and environment to reconstruct what was symbolically being represented by the few scans we see. Freddy's on the main stage in the atrium. The floor in front of that stage is huge and could easily fit over 1,000 people in there. There's easily hundreds of people within his sight range. So what likely happened is he started trying to scan them all, got partway through, and detected Gregory hiding in the crowd. Gregory being the most likely candidate for this detection since he's one of the missing children and would likely be on a watch list for Glitch Trap. Then a very interesting line happens. Alloc overload appears, which is an attempt to allocate resources to the init task command. But it returns an error message overload, indicating insufficient resources are available. This could be a lack of CPU power, a lack of RAM, or a combination of the two. Remember about the environment and how many scans Freddy probably actually performed before finding Gregory? That, on top of still running his show mode, would require a lot of hardware resources. This error message indicates all this needs more than Freddy has to give. The next line is really the crux of it, SW.failure. I suspect this SW is another part of Glitch Trap, and the last part is pretty self-explanatory. Its SW is crashing. This would mean, in the ultimate stroke of irony, the virus named Glitch Trap just tried to run at the worst possible time and glitched itself into crashing. The next part of importance is Freddy's reboot, which goes into safe mode. The gist of it is non-essential Windows services are disabled, and the list of auto-loading apps is also not run. It's likely Freddy's show mode programming would be in the non-essential category, and thus be disabled. Since Glitch Trap's host is disabled, Glitch Trap is also disabled. Free of his interference, Freddy's natural personality and programming is able to fully take over again, giving us our friendly Freddy. As Freddy says, the Glamrocks were programmed to be friendly. Thanks again, Jason, for the amazing analysis and evidence, and like I said, there's a lot more to it that he mentioned, but I was just kind of narrativizing it for this video. I could make a whole video on the doc he sent over. With all this evidence, and even more not in this video, it seems incredibly overwhelmingly likely that Freddy's not haunted at all. He simply reboot out of having the glitch trap activate because of safe mode, and because of all the things that caused him to glitch out in the first place. And then, the more pieces from the other animatronics we get, then the glitch trap virus starts to take over, explaining his increasingly erratic behavior. And, by the way, small note, a lot of people say the "my friends are down here" line is Michael referring to the blob, but I think it's way more likely that Freddy just knows the other animatronics are down here. Because, like 1,000 times in the game, he calls the other animatronics his friends and are very worried about them. As far as I am not me, he could be well aware that the glitch trap virus is beginning to take hold. So, I guess we can conclude that not a single character in the entirety of Fnaf Security Breach is haunted. Maybe. So we're getting into philosophy now. This is an odd question, but Glitch Trap is a virus. He's a virus that takes over robots. But remember, that virus spawned because a remnant of William Afton's soul was scanned into a video game. So he's kind of like a virtual ghost. It is a virus, but it's a virus that happened when a soul was scanned into technology. Glitch Trap is kind of like a William Afton Rotom. That's cursed. But if a virtual ghost is taking over control of a robot, is that not possession, aka being haunted? Well, I have to go wrestle with my own personal philosophies, and that cursed knowledge that I just brought into the world. While I'm having an existential crisis, in the meantime, if you're still mad at me about saying Vanny and Vanessa are the same thing, I proved it here, so go watch it there. Again, big thanks to Jason Ross, and shout out, as always, to the best patron Emberisk, and until next time, as always, stay toasty.